We're very pleased today to host Breanne Beh, the president and CEO of Angus Gold. She helped put Probe Gold together and a few other companies. This is a new company, doesn't have a maiden resource yet, that's coming next year. And they joined Wesdome, they're funded by Wesdome, and they're a little earlier than we usually host companies, but it looked interesting. The rocks are pretty, and I'll let Breanne tell the story before I tell too much.
All right, thanks a lot for having us, John. I really appreciate it. I think, yeah, Angus in general appreciates being included in your conference, knowing we're a bit smaller than the typical companies you typically showcase. So, okay, I'm here today to give you a little bit of a background on Angus Gold, who we are and where we are operating. So I will be making forward-looking statements today. All right, so in terms of company highlights for Angus, we have quite an experienced leadership team on our board. So we have past executives from Barrick and Richmont mines, as well as a number of current executives from the Probe Gold team. If you're familiar with Probe, Probe is responsible for the discovery of the Borden mine that's currently in operation near Chapleau, Ontario. And then they've also just pushed the Novador project north of 10 million ounces in the Val-d'Or region that they operate. And I speak a little bit about Probe because, yeah, that's how I fit into this story. I worked for Probe for over a decade before coming on to the Angus team. And I think we really kind of embody the Probe exploration philosophy at Angus. So, yeah, I think just really good track record. Angus's land package is located in the Wawa region of Ontario. So, you know, this area has seen, I think, quite a resurgence in exploration activity in the past decade, thanks in large part to the success of Wesdome's Eagle River mine and Alamos's Island Gold mine. Angus has put together a district scale land package, so about 290 square kilometers. And it's the first time this has all been consolidated under one operator. And I think that's one of the reasons that this land package has gone so underexplored for so many years, despite the access to great infrastructure. We are literally sandwiched between the Eagle River mine and the Mishi Mill complex that processes that ore. The district in general has potential for high-grade multi-million ounce gold deposits. Our land package in particular has two more advanced gold targets that we're working on. So the BIF gold zone, or Banded Iron Formation hosted gold zone, which was an Angus discovery in 2021. And then the Dorset gold zone as well, which was a historic resource when we acquired the project that we felt could be reinterpreted and potentially grown. And that's what we've been successful at doing. And then all the while on the remainder of this 290 square kilometers, we're running these regional field programs in the summer, you know, prospecting, mapping, and we're stumbling over new exploration areas that as standalones, I'd be excited to explore as a geologist, but this is all wrapped into one land package. So it's a great project to be working on. And then last thing, we are fully funded right now to complete all the work we would like to do exploration-wise until the end of 2025. And that is thanks in large part to a strategic investment from Wesdome that was completed in January of 2024. So quick snapshot here of our leadership team. We've got Steve Burleton as our chair. So he was with Richmont Mines when they were acquired by Alamos and then moved on to GT Gold when they were acquired by Newmont. Then we've got Jamie Sokolsky, who is one of our strategic advisors to the board, former CEO and CFO of Barrick Gold, currently a lead director of Agnico Eagle. David Palmer, Patrick Langlois, Dennis Peterson down the center here, all with the Probe Gold team. They bring quite a wealth of experience. David Cobbold up in the top right is currently Vice Chair of Metals and Mining at Macquarie Group. And then our most recent acquisition, Lindsay Dunlop, is our VP of Investor Relations. So Lindsay conveniently was with Wesdome for 10 years. So she really knows the district well, and it's been really helpful having her come on board. So a little bit of the track record, or let's say the recipe at Probe, is typically, you know, there's a really good eye there for putting together large land packages in prospective areas that are very mining friendly. So, you know, basically at that point, it's nose to the grindstone, and every dollar we can goes into the ground to assess the potential of the property. And I think Angus right now is really well positioned to be a third story for this team, a third successful story, I should say. In terms of share structure, we're quite tightly held. So Wesdome holds 11% of us, New Gold 8%, directors and insiders hold 30%. And you can see there we are fully funded with that $6 million in the bank to complete our exploration work in 2025. All right, so on to the geology. This is basically the regional geology for the Wawa Camp. Our land package is shown here in this gold block that basically surrounds Wesdome's Mishi complex and then comes up to the north side of the Eagle River Mine land package. So we cover a nice section of the greenstone belt as well as the edges of the intrusive bodies. So that competency contrast in the rocks usually creates for really interesting exploration targets. What I like to point out here too is, you know, yes, we're proximal to Wesdome, but there's a lot of other big players in this camp. We've got Alamos operating over in the Duberville area. We've got Barrick active in the belt as well. And there aren't a lot of, you know, let's say more advanced exploration projects operating in this district. So I just think we're, you know, positioned in such a good neighborhood here for us. All right, so I'll just go through the simplified geology on this map. Basically, Angus covers a number of gold-bearing deformation zones, and I'll move through them north to south just to kind of give you a feel for all of our exploration targets. So Abbey Lake and Mishi West are hosted in the Iron Lake deformation zone that heads up into the northeast. These two exploration targets are very grassroots, really interesting siliceous outcrops, as well as great looking grab samples coming out of these two areas the last few summers. Then we move down into the Mishabishu deformation zone here. So this hosts the Mishi and past producing Magnacon mines. And then we have 7 kilometers of this deformation zone on our land package, which we've called the Feather River exploration area. What I really like to point out here is you can see all the smaller gold circles that are located within the Wesdome land package. So these are all the historic gold showings recorded with the government, and they're all, you know, situated very much near mine. So all exploration in this district has really been concentrated near mine, leaving, you know, a lot of ground for us to make a new discovery. And I really don't think, you know, it's likely that these showings stop just at the edge of the Wesdome claim block. In fact, we know, you know, through some of our compilation work that there's shallow drill holes completed out in the Feather River area in the 1980s, only drilled to about 60 meters, that were spot sampled at the time. And some of those spot samples returned up to 20 grams per ton gold. So I think it's a really prospective area that I'm excited to drill in the future. Then we move down into the Rook Lake deformation zone, again, very underexplored. The Mishi Creek deformation zone hosts our Dorset deposit. So the historic resource I mentioned, the metrics for it are up here in the top left. You've got about 220,000 ounces at the 1.2 to 1.4 gram point. Then we move down into the Biff exploration area and the Eagle River Splay exploration areas. Both of these deformation zones we've shown in blue because they're shears that Angus has identified through compilation work and field work. So value we've added to the geologic understanding of the project. So we'll start off with Dorset. This map basically summarizes all the work we have completed at Dorset. So that historic resource area that I keep mentioning is shown projected to surface in red. That was 750 meters of strike length. We have now more than doubled that strike length. We're actually tripling it to 2.1 kilometers of strike length of continuous mineralization. So, you know, we keep hitting gold mineralization along our step outs. And I think what we did was we came in, we flew the high definition airborne mag, we reinterpreted some of the structural offsets. You can see east and west of that historic resource area. We have the zone stepping across some of these structural breaks. Initially, we did a couple, very aggressive step outs, 500 meters east, 500 meters west, and we hit the zone. So we've come back, we've done some infill drilling, still a lot of work left to do. It's still quite early days on this. We've worked on the historic resource area, trying to define ore shoots at depth better, trying to target plus 2 gram per ton material. This deposit's exposed at surface. So you can literally walk along the outcrop in the field, and we've drilled it to about 200, 250 meters true depth. So, hitting above 2 grams is really, it's totally economic in this area. So we're happy with these results. And then
How many holes has your company drilled? How many of those blue dots are there?
At Dorset, there's probably about 100, I would say. We've put in about 25,000 meters there.
And how many historic holes are there from prior owners?
I think there's 150 to 200 historic holes in that area, if I recall correctly.
And how historic are the historic holes?
Yeah, 2006, 2007. Some 1998 holes.
So there's a huge database.
Yeah, it's a good size, yeah.
So there's actually a chance you might be able to publish something next year, in all seriousness.
Yeah, I think we are definitely, working towards that with what I think could be, a good data set to complete that target. Mm-hmm. As I mentioned, I think, in some of these areas, the drill density, like just this area for one, is along the western limb. There's only a couple holes along sections here that are, far spaced. For sure, the east needs better drilling density as well. But yeah, I think we're well on our way to accomplishing that goal. And I think the most exciting thing at Dorset was so basically last winter, the last hole that we drilled in our 2024 winter program, we were literally in the midst of mobilizing the drill out the drill trail because everything was turning to mud. And I wasn't quite sure if the zone to the west was bifurcating. So I just asked if we could try and complete one more hole along the most western section at the time. We got it done, and it was this hole 136. So the call box is right down on the bottom of the screen. It's 7 grams over 12.5 meters that we intersected there. So a bit of a game changer for us. We obviously were very excited. We've come back to this Dorset West area, and we've really been concentrating on this zone end of 2024, start of 2025 drilling. At this point, we've defined this higher grade Dorset West pocket to about 200 meters of strike length. And yeah, some of the intersections here we're coming back with like 2.3 over nearly 10 meters, 3.2 over 13.7, 4.3 over 9, and then one of our first.
Are these at open pit depths?
Oh yeah, this is like 100 to 120 meters true depth.
So there's 3 clusters. There's the west cluster of holes, the central cluster of holes, and the east cluster of holes.
Correct, yeah.
So it looks like there's 3 zones that from the drill density must be continuous. Then there's a fence post between the west and the central where you just drilled one row. Can we infer from that that it wasn't as good as where you drilled a bunch of holes together?
I wouldn't say it wasn't as good. I would just say it wasn't like this fence post, like this fence post. Is that kind of what you're talking about here?
Yeah, the line from left to right.
Yeah, we had gold intersected there. Yeah, it just wasn't notable, I guess, to the same. I think it was, maybe in the gram realm over, 5 to 7 meters. So just not a highlight for this map for sure. Still present.
The grade thickness wasn't as good.
Yeah, I think on average, when we look at it, the grade thickness is typically 10 to 12 meters across the whole zone. But yeah, I think in that area, we just didn't hit we have done some more drilling there, I'll say this winter, like the 2025, waiting on the assays. So just to kind of improve the density there.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, I would just say at this point, this Dorset West is the most exciting for us. It's open for 2 kilometers to the west at this point. And I just really like to remind people as the last point on this slide, I'm showing you 2 kilometers of strike length. The deformation zone that this is hosted in on our land package is 7 kilometers. And outside of this 2 kilometers, drilling is very, very sparse. So I really believe there's a lot of exploration potential there that remains. So just one last slide on this. We've been calling it a new discovery because basically as the deformation zone moves west, we cross a lithological contact from the mafic metavolcanics shown in green into the metasedimentary rocks in gray. And the zone just seems to behave differently. Dorset resource area, you can see in the 2D section down here, dips a little more to the north, about 60 degrees, whereas this new discovery area is right here, more subvertical. And yeah, again, just excited to continue to drill along this western extension. Historic grab samples collected out there have run anywhere from 0.5 to 8 grams per ton gold, and it just seems on the project in general, when you have grab samples that are anomalous like that at surface, we've had a really good hit rate, I guess, on getting something in the drill hole. So yeah, excited to continue our drilling out in that western direction. Just a quick photo here of the VG from our first press release hole from 2025. So this was I think 80 grams over 0.4, 0.5 meters. All right, so now moving on to the banded iron formation zone that we have on the project. So as I mentioned, this was an Angus discovery. We have 6 kilometers of this banded iron formation, 6 kilometers of strike length by about 2 to 3 kilometers in the north-south direction on our land package. We knew that the system could host gold. There had been a grab sample collected. It's shown with the diamond kind of down in the bottom left of the map that had run 14 grams per ton. But it had never really been drilled. So this was very much a conceptual exploration target when we picked up the land package. 2021, we came in, we put 4 drill holes into the entirety of the banded iron formation. 2 of them happened to be on this northernmost mag trend that we're drilling along now, and they were 500 meters apart, testing structural breaks that we thought could function as conduits for gold-bearing fluids into the system. And we came back with hole 14, so the call box is in the middle of the map there, 60 meters at 0.9 grams per ton, and hole 15 at the time ran about 1 gram over 20 meters. So we were like, okay, very interesting. That 60 meters of continuous gold mineralization had a cluster of about 4 or 5 samples in it that ran, I think it was 2, 3, 4, 7, and 9 grams per ton gold. So we thought, okay, what if we can come back in, prove continuity between these 2 initial holes, and second, what if we can continuously show that there's a higher grade core within this broad envelope of low grade mineralization? You know, we could really be onto something. Again, this is exposed at surface. We've channel sampled it. We've drilled to about 250 meters true depth. So all open pittable. And so, yeah, that's what we did. We came back in, we proved continuity between our 2 initial holes, and then we began some aggressive step outs again, knowing we kind of had to build size quickly to get people interested at that grade point. And so a lot of these sections still just have 1 hole on them. I think we've only sunk about 12,000 meters into this 1 kilometer of strike length that we've defined. But yeah, it's a great zone. And I think the other thing that I like to touch on is the fact that we've only just begun to test, some of the parallel mag high trends in the banded iron formation. So, you know, you can see our blue collars elsewhere on the iron formation. These 2 here on this trend returned, I think, 4 meters of about 1 gram. And so to me, that just indicates, hey, there is gold elsewhere in this system. We just need to continue exploring, and I think it's just a matter of time before we're able to find another parallel trend to this.
Breanne, several times you've mentioned iron formations,
Mm-hmm.
and iron formations can be significant in a number of different contexts. Is the iron significant because you find the structure magnetically, for example?
Well, sorry, like you mean because it's easy to pick out of the mag?
Using magnetic geophysics, is that a significance of the iron?
Yeah, for sure. It helps you pick them out in the high definition airborne mag for
Is
sure.
the iron significant as an iron oxide copper gold IOCG?
Um, I wouldn't say the iron content is like what the iron content does is it certainly helps, it helps pull the gold out of solution and deposit it
So that
into.
was the next question. Gold precipitates out of solution in the presence of iron.
Mhm.
So the iron helps you find the structure and it helps attract the gold geochemically.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, I've gone through 3 angles. Are there any more angles where iron is significant?
I can't think of any off the top of
We're
my
not
head.
making steel, but we're looking for gold. It's okay.
Yeah, pretty much, I think. Yeah. Um, yeah, and I guess last thing to point out is just logistically the road down to Eagle River Mine. If you can see it in the LiDAR here, it literally runs right here. So we are right off the road. Logistically, this is beautiful, So just a quick long section here, beginning to show our intersections. Again, I keep mentioning, it is early days on each of these areas, but we're really starting to show a kind of a higher density of intersections and, showing that continuous aspect of this zone. Higher grade pockets that we're looking to test and kind of prove up better with our 2025 drill program on this gold zone. And then last thing I just want to touch on is, I've said we've defined this to 250 true depth. We have gotten this intersection in hole 156 down here at 270 true depth. So, it's 17 meters at just shy of a gram. So nothing to write home about necessarily, but again, I think it's just a sniff at depth to me speaks of the continued exploration potential. We could be just on the edge of another plunging chute here. So really excited to continue developing this BIF zone. It's kind of been our baby because we did find it, and that obviously always makes it a little more exciting for the geologists working on it. So yeah, as you mentioned, just touching, on other BIF-hosted gold deposits and why these are typically attractive targets. They can be multi-million ounce, they can be high-grade, extensive systems, and we just hope with the work we continue to do that we'll eventually find ourselves on this table of notable BIF-hosted gold deposits. All right, so last area I will speak to you about today is the Eagle River Splay exploration area. So to start off on this map, the Eagle River Mine is hosted within this pink rock type, the diorite plug down here. They're also having some exploration success out in their Falcon zone to the west, where they're testing, I think, along contacts between felsic and mafic volcanic rocks, all hosted within this deformation zone. So we have this splay of the Eagle River Deformation Zone, interpreted again from our high definition mag, coming up onto our land package. And you can see here, we actually have a chunk of diorite that literally looks like it's been ripped off the back end of the mine diorite and entrained up onto our land package. Another chunk of it here. And then similar geology in terms of the interfingered felsic and mafic volcanics off the north end there. This area had a handful of grab samples collected historically that had run above 5 grams per ton gold, and it had never been drilled. So we came in, we did ground geophysics. Our first program in here was November 2023. At the time, we just drilled 6 or 7 holes, actually right almost in the ditch of the mine access road. Logistically, at that time of year, it's just where we could get. And we came back with hole 100 that ran 48.7 over 1.5 meters. But that was within a shear zone that was about 6 to 7 meters thick, repeating thin quartz veins and some VG. So, we were like, okay, interesting. Pushed back in the bush when the winter came around. We drilled a fence to try and transect the entirety of this deformation zone. And interestingly, it was hole 135 that came back with 3 zones of gold. 700 meters away from that hole 100, but along the same chargeable feature. And again, very early days at this area as well, but to me, it's just playing out so similar to how we made the discovery at the BIF gold zone. And so if we can come back in here this winter, prove continuity between these 2 initial holes, we will have 3 gold zones that we are pushing forward basically within 5 kilometers of the Eagle River mine, all along the haul road up to the mill complex. So just to wrap up for you today, we've got the BIF zone where we've made a brand new gold discovery. We've defined a kilometer of strike length. We are generating new interpretations of the gold mineralizing controls at depth. Dorset, we have almost tripled the strike length of the initial resource that we inherited. We have been targeting higher grade material at depth, and we've made a brand new high grade gold discovery along the westernmost section of the Dorset zone, and that trend's now open for 2 kilometers to the west. Eagle River Splay, we've identified an unexplored shear zone that had similar geology to the hosts of the Eagle River mine. We've generated these exploration targets, and we've made a brand new gold discovery again in our inaugural drill program there. And then Feather River last just kind of speaks to that exploration potential that continues on the land package, another unexplored portion of a gold-bearing shear zone, and currently pushing that towards drill readiness. So last slide for you here today is just showing you the project path we've been on for the last few years, what we're looking to do this year. We've been consistently increasing our drill meterages per year. This year, we're aiming for about 15 to 20,000 and working towards that ultimate goal, which you touched on, that resource estimate in 2026 sometime. So thanks a lot.
So everyone is welcome to submit questions through the question box. Sometimes it's a little hard for me to read. Right now, I think it's empty. Your target is to have a maiden resource next year?
Yeah, sometime in 2026 is what we're working towards, yes.
Do you think there'll be a maiden resource from each of the 3
target areas?
Dorset, BIF, and Splay?
I would hope for at least Dorset and BIF.
And will each of these be surface because you've been drilling shallow to save a couple of dollars? You don't have the money to drill super deep holes.
Yeah, I think we've definitely been focusing on the surface aspect just because they're both exposed at surface. And for sure, yeah, to save dollars for sure. So yeah, yes, would be the answer to your question.
So 1 to 3 grams are possible. You're trying to get 2 grams, but the engineers always dilute it down and make it lower so they can take an incremental ton. It's amazing what those engineers do to a discovery, right? So to get 1 million ounces at 2 grams, you need a lot of tons.
Yeah.
Do you think you have enough data for 20 million tons of resources in whatever grade it is?
So I think that our 2025 and hopefully 2026 drill programs will definitely have to be, focused to try and achieve that. Yeah. So I think we can do it, but I think, yeah, we'll have to be and I think we are being strategic with our 2025 meterage already in trying to accomplish that.
As a geologist, would you rather drill step outs to learn more about the regional geology and how much bigger it is? Or would you rather drill infill to get a resource on the books?
For sure, step outs, they're more exciting.
When you do a financing next year, will it be flow through money?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, right now we have about just shy of $1 million in hard dollar that remains. But most of our financings have been flow through, yes.
And for we Americans who don't know all the ropes, I guess your salary has to be paid from hard dollars and the drilling can be paid from flow through. Where are the fences between what is flow through money and hard dollar money?
So my kind of understanding or interpretation of it and the way we operate is anything that goes into the ground, like in terms of exploration expenses, is flow through. So yeah, anything on the marketing head office side of things would be hard dollar.
So you want to have the head office in a garage or basement or living room so you can put more money in the ground.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we keep our hard dollar expenditures pretty tight at Angus. I'm not going to lie to you. So
I used to be in the basement, but now I'm in a living room because in Florida there's no basement.
yeah, fair.
In the history of my business, anytime I looked to rent space, it was a perfect predictor the gold price would fall. That's like a rule.
You just stay home.
So it's always good to be lean.
Yeah, I think we're a pretty conservative group on the board level, and then yeah, we're quite a lean team. So I think like I said, we try and put every dollar we can into the ground to have that extra drill hole to give ourselves the opportunity to find something new, or like you said, just to increase density to get to the resource point.
So on Eagle River Splay, you're going to infill the 700 meters between the two good holes. After you do that, if the infill is successful and the infill holes are all gold bearing, which direction do you think you would step out to, northeast, southwest?
Oh, I think I would jump back here. I think I would probably try and move eastwards there, because we have a good section we still have about 500 meters of strike length on our claim block before we hit the edge of the claims. I think I would initially move eastwards. And that's where we have the chargeable feature mapped nicely into the shear zone.
And the chargeability is electrical geophysics?
Yeah, so it's induced polarization. So yeah, the chargeability kind of measures the ability of the rock to hold a charge. So typically it shows a correlation to metallic minerals, basically, is what you're hoping is represented in the drill core when you pull it up and are like, okay, that was the depth I was expecting to hit my anomaly, the chargeable anomaly at.
So 2 or 3 grams carries a charge?
Yeah, because it's typically associated with pyrite, right? Disseminated through the rocks. So, you'll see anywhere from like 3 to 10% sulfides associated with the gold zone. And so it's more the minerals it's associated with that will hold the charge.
Do you superimpose gravity geophysics for density?
We don't use that so much. Yeah, usually what I do is the chargeability overlain with the resistivity. So those are both measurements that come out of the same survey. Resistivity, typically you're looking for more quartz-rich rocks. And so higher resistivity associated with a higher chargeability is usually a nice target.
So if you charge an aquifer and it conducts electricity perfectly, how do you know you're not hitting an aquifer?
I'm not a geophysicist, but I believe that I would just hope that there is some processing of the data that they do before they send the surveys back. So I don't know if I can really answer that question
I had a relative that was an engineering student at Columbia and was practicing geophysics and found the subway tracks.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why I asked if you would do gravity, because density would rule out water.
Yeah, fair.
And how you how you exclude the false positives.
Yeah, I mean, every time we've used it, like, over the, decade or so that I've been doing exploration, yeah, we usually have, with the data that we're given from the geophysics company, there's usually an explanation in the rocks. It doesn't always mean gold, but it usually means something metallic or a graphitic schist, which obviously isn't always favorable, but there's usually something at the approximate depth that I've been looking at to hit the target that explains the chargeable feature that's related to the rocks and not necessarily an aquifer.
So Dorset and Biff, you got a lot of data, and you're probably going to document some gold. We just don't know how many tons and what grade. Eagle River Splay you're working on. What's the next zone you go after Eagle River Splay?
Oh, I want to drill that. I want to drill that Feather River area so badly. Yeah, there's these historic samples from old drill holes from, like I said, from the 80s that have run anywhere from 5 grams to 20 grams per ton gold, and no one's gone back in there with modern geophysics and tested any of these targets. So I'm really excited about that area. We know that deformation zone again can host a mine, and so I can't believe at times some of these areas that haven't really been explored in recent years, and they're all just sitting, accessible for us. So.
Okay. So after Feather River, what would you go for next?
Oh, I'd probably try the Mishi West area. So I'll jump back up to the region.
So this is west of where Wesdome mined.
Oops, excuse me. Correct. Yeah. Yeah, it's off their land package. Few gold showings in here for sure. Most of them related to surface channel samples that were done historically, probably as part of the, the Eagle River and Mishi exploration push, back in the 70s and 80s. But no one's really been back in here in quite some time. So we've had some really neat grab samples come back grade wise. There's quartz veins at surface. It's an area I'd love to put a geophysics grid this year if possible, and look towards drill readiness sometime in 2026 maybe.
Is there a 6th target after Mishi West?
Yeah, I mean, again, this Abbey Lake area up here, there's a bit more drilling that's been done historically up here, but I think, when I was in the field with the field crew last summer, a few days in Abbey Lake, the outcrops look great. Like they're all silicious, there's sulfides through them, they're all rusty and gossainy. Again, it's in a shear zone. Yeah, I would look to potentially, step out from the historic drilling and see if there is anything that was maybe missed again back in the, when that was being drilled. So
when you refer to color, the color indicates alteration, silicification, good plumbing.
Yeah, it looked like quartz rich. It looked rusty because there was all these sulfides, metallic minerals through it. Yeah, in the field, it looked really, really attractive in terms of a, surface exposure.
Good. So you are idea rich.
Yeah, there's a lot of regional prospectivity in this project.
So how was this ground open for your team to pick up?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna jump down to one of our appendix maps here, actually. So everything in blue on the map here is Angus ground. It's all held 100% by Angus. The grayed out ground in the center here, and then to the south is Wesdome's ground. So basically late 2019, early 2020, the Angus team started consolidating this land package. So all the different patterns of the blue ground represent all the different land deals that were completed to put this land package together. So smaller projects were held by, prospectors in the area, some held by, just smaller exploration companies. A chunk of it was actually held by IM Gold at the time, so we optioned it off of them. 2023, we completed our 100% earn in of the ground. So yeah, I think I think it took some legwork to put it together. But again, I think, yeah, the management team of Probe, like I said, is just good at identifying prospectivity. And so they saw something here. They saw the potential at Dorset to grow it, and they saw the potential at the BIF to potentially host a gold zone. It was a good exploration target in theory, and it's panned out for us.
So Wesdome was very focused maybe on Kiena, forming Gold Shore to spin out Moss Lake.
Right.
And you got some work done out west where people were willing to do deals.
Yeah, I think, my understanding too is, yeah, Wesdome is exactly like you said. They were very focused on running Kena and Eagle River at the time, and I think, my understanding and speaking to past management at Wesdome and current geologists that are still there is that they've always been very supportive of an exploration company coming in, working adjacent to them, and hopefully finding something and beginning to build something. But I guess, yeah, at the time it maybe just wasn't in their wheelhouse to be doing all that work as well.
Well, congratulations, it's most remarkable. So should investors think of you as a one-trick pony where you're there to find some gold and sell out the Wesdome? Or could you be a three-trick pony? Do you think that there's enough gold there for you to have a second avenue where you build your own mill?
Well, I think Wesdome's obviously a logical opportunity for us, just the proximity. But yeah, I would touch on Alamos again. Like their mill in Duberville isn't really that far down the road. And yeah,
How many clicks down the road is it?
I think it's 200-ish. So they're definitely in the district. And as I mentioned, yeah, their exploration strategy in past years has been acquisition heavy. So we see that as a potential outcome for sure. So yeah, I understand the question, but I don't think we necessarily need to be a one-trick pony here. Yeah.
Then the third avenue would be if someone bought Wesdome and consolidated you into Wesdome.
Right. Yeah.
Although Wesdome has about $1.7 billion market cap US and $1.1 million in reserves. So Agnico and Alamos are like just under $1,000 an ounce of reserves. So Wesdome has a fuller valuation because they've had some good grade results and good earnings this year. So it's a little tougher to imagine them getting bought out. That's the third trick. You're doing the right thing just to drill and find your gold.
Yeah, I think we like doing this type of work. We try and be responsible and conservative with our dollars. And yeah, we've had a great hit ratio, I would say, in terms of exploration holes and intersecting gold. Like in comparison to the projects I've worked on elsewhere, over the 14 years or so I've been doing this, it's a really fun project to be on.
Well, good. Congratulations. I know what to watch for now.
All right,
and,
good.
You got some high-powered people hooked up. So it looks like somebody thinks there's some gold there.
Good. I hope so.
Thank you for being with us. I apologize. I started a few minutes early. The other meeting earlier broke up early. And I was so excited to hear what you were going to say. I pressed start too soon. So apologies to the audience if you missed the first 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Congratulations, Breanne.
Thanks.